Good morning, everyone. Today's scripture reading is coming out of the Gospel of John, chapter 15, verse 12 and 13. The scripture reads, "This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, that someone laid down his life for his friends." And here, Christ uses his love as a reference point. And he says, "As I have loved you, love one another." And oftentimes I believe that this is overlooked because we busy ourselves with learning the narrative, Christ's life, death, and resurrection, which is a huge part of, our redemption and who we are as children, is through his sacrifice that's been possible. But in the process of really internalizing that, we lose sight of the very words that Christ spoke while during his earthly ministry. And here he's saying for us to obey his commandment of love, grow in that self-sacrificial love. The love that he displayed towards all was selfless. There was no ulterior motive. There was nothing to gain, only him giving of himself. And that's what he says for us to display towards one another. Grow in this type of love. And this love can only be characterized as divine, because as we all know, human love, it's selfish, it's self-serving, it's not, as the Bible describes it, selfless. And so when we find ourselves being selfless and just doing things because of God's command to love, that's when we begin to grasp what it is that God has called us to do. God has called us to love one another, to love our neighbor, to love those who are strangers towards us. Not to turn a blind eye, not to overlook, not to be indifferent or apathetic towards others, but to have that divine concern, that divine love. As he says, chapter 15, verse 12 and 13, "This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you." Then he goes on, he says, "Greater love has no one than this, that someone laid down his life for his friends." I know that we can't do what Christ has done, but we sure can strive to emulate that same nature, because according to the scripture, we're born and created in his image and likeness. So because we are of his image and likeness, we should bear the same characteristics. And since God is love, that's how our life should be characterized.